Wednesday, December 5th, 2012. Mind control references in my life. Now that Notre Dame has completed a perfect, although tainted by game fixing, regular season and has qualified for a berth in the BCS championship game, I'd like to take this opportunity to describe the significance of the Notre Dame-Washington game that was played on October 12, 1996, at Notre Dame Stadium, which the Irish won easily, 54-20. Kirby Sprouse, one of my former colleagues at the South Bend Tribune, invited me to the game, and I just recently figured out why. It turns out the Washington quarterback in that game was Brock Huard. He later played in the NFL for the Seattle Seahawks and the Indianapolis Colts. I realize now that the CIA wanted me to attend that game and remember Huard because he shares the same last name with Janine Huard, the Montreal resident who was one of the CIA's mind control victims at the Allen Memorial Institute in the 1950s. Ewan Cameron conducted the experiments at the Montreal facility with funding from the CIA. A few years ago, a CIA agent posing as a fellow targeted individual tipped me off to the CIA's practice of surrounding targets with people whose names correspond to the names of people who have been involved in mind control. She suggested that it might be happening to me as well, so I decided to take a look. According to the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, it is certain that onomatology, or the science of names, forms a very interesting part of the investigations of higher Masonry. Once I discovered the importance of names in Freemasonry, I used this knowledge to piece together the clues to the mystery of my life. Names of people, streets, towns, and much more began to take on a meaning that I had never understood before. It became apparent to me that people had been planted in my life whose names would connect me to Freemasonry, the CIA, Nazi Germany, satanic ritual abuse, the JFK assassination, the Franklin Credit Union scandal in Nebraska, mind control, Satanism, and other related topics. See these posts about the important topics addressed on this blog. Bizarre Mind Control Atrocity Exposed, Part 1. The Fugitive, from a satanic cult gang stalked by homicidal, devil-worshipping sociopaths. The satanic cult that rules the world references to me in the movies. One of their agents did finally admit to me a few years ago that I was used in Project Monarch. But the name associations were a way for the CIA to reveal to me that I had been used in one of their mind control projects without coming right out and telling me. The operation was designed to be plausibly deniable, but at the same time, to leave no doubt in my mind what was going on and who was behind the program. Kirby's name is an example of this, because Walter Beauwart, author of the CIA Expose, Operation Mind Control, was born Walter Howard Kirby. And he published many articles under the pen name of Thomas Kirby. I worked closely with Kirby Sprouse for 2 years at the Tribune. We sat across from each other at work and carpooled to work and back, as we both lived on Sunnymead Avenue in South Bend. His house was located next door to the house I lived in when I was growing up. I was 5 years old when we moved into that house and 9 years old when we moved out. Certainly it's possible that the appearance of some of these people in my life could have been coincidences, but what makes me think there's something more to it is the sheer number of coincidences. At some point, in the face of so much evidence, it becomes impossible to attribute all these examples to coincidence, especially when there's so much other evidence of mind control in my life. See this post for more information on this subject. http://brusselelsprouts.blogspot.com/2008/02/bizarre-masonic-atrocity-part-1.html. Here's an excerpt from an article about Janine Huard that was published on the CBC News website on July 4, 2007. A Montreal senior who survived Cold War-era brainwashing experiments picked up a check for compensation from the federal government on Tuesday. Janine Huard, 79, accepted an offer to end her class action lawsuit against the federal government, which jointly funded the experiments with the Central Intelligence Agency. You can find the full article here. http://www.cbc.ca/news/canada/montreal/story/2007/0704.qc-lament0704.html. I was born into a multi-generational satanic cult, and I've found that many of the important people in my life are also cult members. My father and both of my grandfathers were high-ranking Freemasons, and I'm sure it goes back a lot further than that. Somehow I escaped from the cult, apparently by refusing to sacrifice innocent children to Satan. I was then sold to the CIA and targeted for destruction. It was decided that all my so-called friends would be members of the cult, that I would marry a cult member without realizing it and raise 2 children for the cult, and that my wife would divorce me and saddle me with 10 years of exorbitant child support payments. And then I would be subjected to gang stalking, tortured with electromagnetic weapons and poisoned to death. Everything is proceeding according to plan, but the only problem is, Planet X might kill me before the CIA does. How would you feel if it happened to you? Would you want to know what motivated all the people in your life to betray you? Would you want to know what it was that united everyone in your life and their common agenda to destroy you? Or would you just try to forget about it and let it go? I chose to pursue the truth, not just for my own sake, but also for the future of humanity. Because make no mistake about it, the ultimate goal of Freemasonry, the CIA, and Satanism is to turn you, your wife, your children and your grandchildren, and everyone else you care about in the whole wide world into microchipped, remote-controlled slaves in the New World Order. So, if you're involved in Satanism and you think it's cool to worship the devil, why are you supporting this agenda? Don't you care about your own children and grandchildren? Or don't you realize that you're supporting this agenda? If you don't realize it, wake up now before it's too late and start fighting back. A good place to start would be this blog and the 13-part series, Bizarre Mind Control Atrocity Exposed. Most of the installments were first published in February 2008. Although I've been having some difficulty locating them in the archives, you should be able to find them by entering the appropriate headline in the Google search engine. For example, type in Bizarre Mind Control Atrocity Exposed, Part 1, and then Part 2 and so on. And then let's put a stop to the New World Order before it turns us all into microchipped, remote-controlled slaves. Posted by Brussels Sprout at 8:32 a.m. Email this blog this, share to Twitter, share to Facebook, share to Pinterest. 4 comments. Anonymous said, I've tried figuring out who's responsible for the premeditated betrayal against me and this is the best explanation. Then I decided and willing to fight this evil with every ounce of my being and trust that God is leading the way. Just need to figure out the tactics used and get as much evidence as possible. February 24, 2014 at 6:36 a.m. Brussels Sprout said, Were you surrounded by people whose names correspond to the names of people involved in mind control? Were you born into a Masonic cult? Were your father, grandfathers, and great-grandfathers all Freemasons? Was your life sabotaged from behind the scenes and were you surrounded by satanic filth at all times? These are some of the signs that you were targeted by the Masons. February 24, 2014 at 2:09 p.m. L.M. Jackson said, I'm glad you had the courage to post your story. Our stories are identical. I have been deceived my whole life because of this atrocity. I knew evil existed, but not to the degree I've experienced in the last 6 months. I'm 51 and I only became aware 6 months ago. July 18, 2014 at 4:26 p.m. Brussels Sprout said, Thanks for your comment, L.M. Jackson. I'm sorry to hear about your ordeal. Have you posted any information about your situation on the internet? It would be interesting to hear more about your story. July 18, 2014 at 5:06 p.m.